What people don't know about me is that I like to dance in front of the mirror in the privacy of my own bedroom. That's one of the things that Jordan and I used to always do. Jordan used to always say to me, "Mom, you can be my mom, but when you go out there, I don't want you to chump yourself. I don't want you to embarrass yourself, so I'm going to teach you how to dance." So I still spend time in front of the mirror and, watching the young people on TV, trying to teach myself how to do the dances.
If you want the exclusive, you want the tall boy, because he's going to bring you the exclusive.
Hey, this is Lucy McBath. Do you want the experience? Tall Boy is going to give it to you.
The Tall Boy Experience.
I decided on the title very early on when I believed that I wanted to be able to chronicle all the events in my life, particularly everything that happened since Jordan, my son, was murdered. I believe that God gave me the title. It didn't take very long to decide upon the title, simply because my son Jordan was murdered under the auspices of the Stand Your Ground law in Jacksonville, Florida. So I felt it was very important in standing and fighting on his behalf for his legacy and all the other people like him that have died senselessly in this country. I believe that it was a matter of understanding that we as a people need to be standing our ground for democracy and for justice. Well, keeping our children safe today is harder than we ever imagined it would be. You think that it would be enough to make sure that you keep them in church, that you keep them in after-school extracurricular activities, that you make sure that you know who their friends are and whose homes they go to and who the parents are. But in today's culture, with implicit bias and racism once again re-emerging in this culture, it's not enough just to do those things. And it's very difficult to say what it is we must do to protect our children. But what we diligently have to do every single day is teach them who they are and teach them how to protect themselves and teach them how important they are, not only to their families, to their loved ones, but to their communities, and teach them how to always stand up and be exactly who God has ordained them to be, and never be afraid to be black, never be afraid to be who they are, and to just stand in it and to walk in it and to believe in themselves. What I want people to take away from my book is that out of great tragedy, you can still stand up and you can move forward. And that as a people, it's our responsibility to do such. As people of color, it's our responsibility to stand up and protect our families and our communities. And we're suffering tragedies every single day. Our communities have been suffering these kinds of tragedies long before it has ever become, the extremist culture nationally that it is in gun violence. But it's just really important for people to understand that out of great tragedy, you have to move forward. You have to rise from the ashes. It is imperative that we do so. You cannot lay down and die a second death when we have tragedies of this nature. Our communities are devastated by the tragedy of gun violence. But as a people, we have always been a people of strong faith. And it's a matter of standing on our faith, standing on who we are as a strong race of people, and really believing in ourselves to continue to fight going forward and to stand and rise above it all, even in the extremist gun culture and the implicit bias and the racism that is resurfacing again in our everyday lives. Book Boutique is such an integral part of the minority heritage, the black heritage. The only way that we continue to thrive and grow as a people, as a culture, is that we have to have knowledge and wisdom. And the only way to gain knowledge and wisdom is through learning and through growing, through reading books, through experiencing just experiencing different kinds of things that have happened to other people, or what's happened in their lives, or things that they dream to do or to aspire to be. And that comes from reading and creatively just experiencing different worlds and different cultures and different languages. That only comes through reading. It's so important that our children grow as good, strong readers. It opens their lives. It gives them a greater perspective. It gives them the ability to really grow and thrive and be who all they aspire to be. We cannot allow them to be closed off and not to grow. The only way that they grow is to be educated, and you do that through reading and exposing your creativity and your lives in worlds and dimensions that they wouldn't get normally just within their own daily living. So it's so important, it's imperative that our children read, they be read to. It's so important that we take the time and effort as parents to invest in them growing, invest in their education, and you do that by reading, exposing them to the world through books. I'm so grateful to be the Congresswoman-elect for Georgia's 6th Congressional District, because I recognize the heavy mantle that I bear, not only for my district, but for the minority community, for the nation, for Georgia, for the people that I'll be serving every single day. And what I really aspire to do for them is to give them hope, to give them an open door to democracy, the way it should be served, the way it should be given and exposed to people in our district. It's so important to make sure that people have affordable health care. It's so important to make sure that people are free from unnecessary gun violence. It's so important to make sure that our transportation system and infrastructure is brought up to the 21st century. It's so important to make sure that, you know, people have the ability to vote unencumbered and that their voting rights are protected. It's so important to make sure that people thrive in an economy that works for all of the people in Georgia, all of the people in my district, that we can put food on the table and make sure that our children are well educated in their own communities. This is what I aspire to do, to give people hope. I have been fighting all of my life, and the legacy that I extend to the people of my district and to Georgia and to the nation is continuing to fight, not only for my son's legacy, but for the legacy of everybody that I live among every single day. I am a mother on a mission. I will continue to fight because people deserve the best that democracy says they should be afforded. Well, I was raised in a family steeped in civil rights. My father was Illinois branch president of the NAACP, served on the executive board for over 20 years. So I grew up in the marches and the rallies for civil and human rights. I remember the night that Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, and I remember watching my entire neighborhood in Chicago go up in flames as people were scared and they were afraid and they were angry about their leader being gunned down. And they were concerned about where we would go as a nation and what we would do in our communities for our futures. And so I remember those experiences. I remember being in the marches and the rallies with my father. I remember singing "We Shall Overcome." And so that is my DNA. And I intend to take all the experiences and the work that my parents did and translate that into progress and translate that into democracy for today. I carry that mantle because I'm only completing the work that my father started. I did have the ability while I was in college at Virginia State University to serve as an intern under who was then State Senator Doug Wilder, who became the first black minority governor of Virginia. And what I remember is walking in the halls, and I remember being in his office and listening and learning about, you know, the ways to write bills and tracking the legislation that he was tasked with pushing forward for the good people that he represented in Virginia. And what I do remember is watching him being so diligent and steadfast and strong. And I remember admiring him, saying, this is a black man And I couldn't have been more proud to work with him and to glean and to learn everything that I believe has helped me to go forward in my task as a United States Congresswoman for the 6th Congressional District. So these are experiences that have laid a very strong foundation for me as I go forward on behalf of my district and Georgia. One of my heroes is President Barack Obama. And I just have to say my other hero is Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama. They are such monumental figures in my life because they dared to dream, they dared to fight for the causes and the platforms that they believed in, despite what anyone would say, despite what barriers were placed before them. As President Obama always says, is that we always have to be the change that we seek. And for each of those individuals, I have watched them fight. I have watched them stand for what they believe in. I've watched them stand for democracy as the Constitution says we should be afforded. And I applaud their success. I applaud their failures because they stood. They've been standing their ground, and I only hope to be that kind of public servant to be able to serve the people that have elected me in Georgia's 6th Congressional District. You know, as a mother of the movement, traveling with the other mothers of the movement on behalf of Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016, I will tell you the very things that we were saying, that I was saying to our youth, to our millennials, is that you have to stand up. You have to be engaged in your futures. You have to. It's imperative in the culture that we're living in, bit by bit, day by day, your sense of democracy and freedom is being eroded. And the only way to change that is that you have to be engaged in preserving your own futures. You have to be educated. You have to be engaged in civil politics, your local politics. You have to be engaged civically. You have to understand what's happening in your own communities. Because if you don't like what you see, to not be involved, to not be engaged is to be complicit in the dismantling of it. There are those of us that are here, we're fighting on your behalf, but you have to stand up and fight for yourselves. You have to stand up and protect your futures and your families and the children that are yet to be born to you. Your ancestors, people died in this country for the freedoms and the rights that you have that exist for you today. Unless you continue to diligently watch and fight for those, they can be taken away before your very eyes. So we, your families and your communities and the elders, will be here to protect you. We'll be here to help encourage you and to help give you the strength to do what you need to do, but it is on you. It is incumbent upon you to take the reins, to take the mantle, and to move forward. The Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Gain the knowledge and the wisdom that you need. Be exposed to what you need to be exposed to thrive and to live and to be all that God ordained you to be. Stand up, fight, move forward with conviction that you deserve everything that this country says you should be afforded. What people don't know about me is that I like to dance in front of the mirror in the privacy of my own bedroom. That's one of the things that Jordan and I used to always do. Jordan used to always say to me, Mom, you can be my mom, but when you go out there, I don't want you to chump yourself. I don't want you to embarrass yourself, so I'm going to teach you how to dance. So I still spend time in front of the mirror and, you know, watching the young people on TV, trying to teach myself how to do the dances. Because when I go out among the people, yes, I am a mother, but I'm a young mother, and I'm a mother that's young at heart, and I always want to be at the pulse of the people and the pulse of the people that I live among every single day. And that means that I've got to understand what it is that makes them tick. And knowing how to dance is just part of that. My favorite food is sushi. You know, we always talk about what children should do, but if we, the parents, are not engaged in doing it with them, your children only do what they see you do. Your children only believe in what they see you are engaged in doing. So instead of us telling our children you need to pick up a book, let them see you reading a book. Take them to book festivals. Take them to places of that they experience getting to meet authors and people that have written books, and expose them to those very things that you want them to be exposed to. You know, children don't readily do those things on their own. They only will do what they see you doing. They only will say what they hear you say, and they will only be what you instill in them. That belief that you instill within them, that's what they will be. So take an active part in their education. Don't just be about talking about it. Do it.
Did you like the video? That's right. Did you like it? Hit that like button.
Think
Subscribe,
big. Think tall.
and share it.
Think tall boy.
Yeah.
Tall boy. Tall boy.
How does it feel to be one of the most, I told you, 500 most powerful people in the country?
Thank you. Now that hasn't sunk in yet. That has not sunk in yet. I know. I mean, when I think about how much history we made, I mean, there's never been a Democrat that sat in the seat since 1979. There's never been a minority Democratic nominee. There's never been a minority that's held a seat. You know, it's just really starting to sink in that, you know, I get to be a part of history.
No, you are a part of history. You are. I told you, you're a historical figure now. Oh my God. And you're gonna make such a difference. Oh my God. It's incredible. It's just incredible.